Let's pick things up there for tonight's Political Insider. Joining me, Abby Phillip, reporter for The Washington Post. All right, Abby, the fourth Republican presidential debate is in the books. This time there were only 8 candidates on the stage. Who stood out as the winner for you?
I think the debate was really about Ben Carson and Marco Rubio emerging virtually unscathed from attacks by their opponents. I mean, these two men are right now among the very small group of candidates who are the people to beat, and it's really notable that no one really wanted to go after them.
That's a very good observation. Analysts have said this was a do-or-die performance for Jeb Bush. Did he deliver?
I think he did well enough to sort of stay afloat. I would argue that his performance probably wasn't even close to being as good as he needs to be in order to really overtake his rivals, but it was better than the last time, and that's saying a lot. He's gotten a little bit of training. It shows. You can see where he's trying to be more aggressive, and I think that worked a little bit for him this time around.
And already becoming presidential, because his main opponent was Hillary Clinton during so many of the questions and answers last night. He really didn't care about the other people on the stage. He was going against Hillary Clinton. I thought that was a good move by him. Were there any losers for you?
Well, you know, I think John Kasich did not emerge from this debate looking particularly good. I mean, I think he interrupted a lot.
Anxious.
He looked very anxious,
yeah.
And I think that he was a little too aggressive. It didn't play very well, especially since everybody on the debate stage seemed to be taking a very different strategy. Kasich was very much interested in drawing contrasts between him and other candidates, but doing so in a way that made him seem kind of petty and panicked.
I think panic is a good word, too. I could feel that just by watching. Here's a man that's anxious. He's kind of panicking. He knows that he's got to get in. He's arguing to get more time. Now, getting back to Ben Carson, the doctor went into his debate as the front runner in many polls, but he's facing a lot of questions about his past. When asked about the vetting process, Carson said he had no problem with it, but he didn't want to be lied about. What did you make of the whole situation?
Well, I think that the story that that gained him a lot of attention was one that was not sort of like a smoking gun, and I think that Ben Carson recognizes that and has tried to move on as quickly as possible. You heard him say, "I'm glad that you didn't ask me about something I said when I was in the 10th grade," and I think that that's a reflection of the fact that his supporters do not care about those kinds of things, and he's going to move on pretty quickly from it. The real question was whether you would see a different side of Ben Carson. Is he going to really lose his cool? Is he starting to lose his patience with being the front runner and being under a lot of scrutiny? I don't think we saw that last night, and that for him is, I think, really important.
Now, immigration played a major role in the debate. Ohio Governor John Kasich, who we've talked about, and Donald Trump traded barbs over Trump's plan to build a wall. Jeb Bush also weighed in, saying it wasn't a feasible idea. Who came out on top in this one, Abby? Do you think Trump's plan is losing steam?
I think Trump's plan is very popular among Trump's supporters. It's really underestimated the extent to which a lot of people who like Donald Trump love the idea of building a wall. But I will say that we'll see so much more of this argument because this is a major rift between Republicans in this party. Marco Rubio is a big part of this story. He's been in favor of comprehensive immigration reform in the past. That is not very popular with the Republican base. I don't think we've seen the last of immigration, and I do think that people need to pay closer attention to the fact that Donald Trump is not alone in his very aggressive stance on immigration.
We have to remember we're talking about the primaries now. Iowa, the evangelicals, they're going for the base right now, but this may not work once we get to a general election or the general populace for that matter.
It may not. I think that Republicans need to be very careful with immigration. We saw it back in 2012 when Mitt Romney made comments about deporting immigrants, and that came back to haunt him in the general election, or self-deportation. I think that Republicans run a real risk of that being a problem this time around. But that's also one of the reasons why a lot of pundits really like Marco Rubio, because they think that he can take a moderate message on immigration, specifically into a general election electorate.
And it was one of the better moments for Jeb Bush, because when they were talking about that, he said that the Clinton campaign is sitting back watching this and high-fiving everybody because they know that if they stay on this, if the Republicans stay on this broad and narrow course, they're going to lose the general election.
And the Clinton campaign spokesman literally said, "We are actually high-fiving right now." Jeb Bush is right. He knows that. But the problem for Jeb Bush is that right at this moment, his most important task is appealing to conservative voters. And, I think that immigration is not going to be his strongest suit right now. And it would probably be in his best interest to talk about other things, because this is just not an issue where a lot of Republicans are on his side.
Abby, as with all primaries, it's not about the debate itself, but about the polling. Will Tuesday's matchup move the needle for any of these candidates?
I really don't think so. The only thing I'll say is that maybe Marco Rubio might see a little bit of a bump. He's sort of like settling into this position as the front runner. That's for him very good. But all the other candidates, it was really a status quo debate. And I don't think many people are going to see much movement as a result of it.
It's always good to get your insight. Abby Phillip with the Washington Post. Thanks again, Abby.
Thanks for having me.